Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Kiran, I presume?
Yes.
Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, man.
My name is Binyam Kiran.
Hey, baby.
Happy Monday. That time of week that begins it all over again.
Yeah.
For most of us. What do they do here, Karen?
Smart Start. So they do like breathalyzers. So I work at a dealership, and we had someone who bought a car, but they have to have a blow box installed in their car.
Okay.
So they have to have it installed before they can take possession of the car. So
Okay.
I just drove it from the dealership to here.
Yeah.
And then they're getting it done, and that's their car.
What's a low box?
So if you have a DUI,
Yeah.
say you got caught drunk driving,
Oh.
you have to have a thing in your car that you
Yeah.
have to blow on it before you can start the car.
That's what that is. Gotcha. So they can still keep driving and being independent. They just have to have a sort of chaperone.
Yeah, so basically just make sure that don't have any alcohol in their system, right? When they
Yeah, I see. Technology is kind of something, eh?
Yeah.
That it can do all this kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
So like the car will be deactivated.
Yeah, it
if-
doesn't even turn on. If you try to drive, so basically, well, it'll turn on, but
Yeah.
if you try to drive it, it sends a signal to the police right away that you're driving without having blown in the box.
Oh, I
So
see.
like it actually monitors it, right?
Oh,
So,
I see. Electronically. And then it probably has a GPS as part of that package too. And is it an indefinite sort of commitment that this individual has to sign up for? Or?
So it's usually depending on like their conviction, if they've had like, if it's their first one or their second one. So there's usually terms. Like I think I've never had a DUI, so I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure it's like if your first offense, you have to keep it in the car for a year, and then more after that, or
Gotcha.
you're knowledgeable.
I see. Well, at least it's it's not like a hey, you can't drive at all now kind of response, right? So at least it seems to give them a chance again, really.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about ways that they might get around it by having someone else blow into it. Is that possible?
Yeah, you could technically you could have like someone come sit in the car with you, blow on it, because it's not like it matches your DNA. It just tests the breath coming for alcohol, right?
Sure.
So you could like you could have your friend sit shotgun and blow into it, and then you could drive. But it's like, well, why don't you just have the sober person drive?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do most people who have this stipulation, are they like, I don't know, like, I'm putting myself in their shoes, I'd be kind of like sheepish about it. Is that kind of their response as well? Like, I gotta have this here done.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or you can't drive at all, right?
Right.
Most people understand the consequence. I mean,
Yeah.
you broke the law, like this is it. I mean, it's better than going to jail and stuff.
Sure.
It's better than not having a car at all, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But that was a condition. I remember when we were selling the car, she was like, like, here's the situation. Like, I want to buy the car.
Yeah.
But she's like, I can't drive it till April 12th because I have a, DUI and I have to get the blow box put in and all this stuff. So, like, we actually sold her the car at the end of March or mid-March. I mean, it's just been sitting on our lot for like a month because I'm like, okay, I'll hold it for you till the date. We'll take it there so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And then you just pick it up when it's done. She's
I
like,
see.
okay. And that was like a main condition of the deal. So.
Yeah. And then in some ways it makes me think about the challenges that we all have that are different in expression, right? So for this person, it doesn't sound like money's an issue because they're able to buy a car, they just can't drive it.
Yeah.
Whereas for other people, they have no problem driving and they're, that's not their life, but they just don't have the funds or whatever. Yeah.
It's interesting, right? Everyone's got a unique set of circumstances.
Angle, absolutely. Yeah. And then I was thinking about this recently too, about how it seems to me if we could choose which flavor our challenges were in, it'd most likely be different from the one we actually have. We'd be like, I wish I had this expression over here, but we rarely get that option.
Yeah, you don't usually get to pick your challenges.
No,
right?
no, not at all. It's like, here's what you're stuck with, and so we make the best of what we can with what we have.
Well, it's, as you get older, I find you notice that more, because like when you're young, you're like, oh man, I'm just gonna get rich and be a millionaire and everything's good. But then then you meet people who have money and they're like, man, like I wish I had a family, or I wish I had this, or I wish I had, like everyone has different challenges, right?
So true. Yeah. 100%. what is some fine print that you wish you had access to before you grew up that you know now?
Sorry, say that again?
You know, like there's fine print in growing up that we usually didn't have awareness of when we were young. We're like, we have all these aspiring goals and things we want to accomplish. Yeah. But then we find out as we grow older that life is actually kind of a tough thing. Like you have a lot of things you have to change your plans for and shift your ideas and ideals and so on. What's like one small fine print that you wish you knew much better when you were younger that would have prepared you for growing up?
If I were to say one, I would say being rich isn't necessarily just financial.
Oh, that's huge. Tell me more.
So like kind of what I was just talking about, like I always thought, okay, you have to like make money, blah blah, and sure, that's part of the equation in life. But it's like you can be rich in other ways and still be like successful, right? You can still find a way to balance it.
Totally true.
How about you?
Well, before I tell you mine, let me tell you why I resonate so strongly with yours. I would say like materialistically or financially or economically, I'm not like affluent. Right. You know, I live super frugal. Anyway, I used to think that was what riches or like satisfaction looked like because I didn't have access to that for the longest time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I feel like I'm living such a rich life relationally, community-wise. Like there's just a lot of things I've had to learn in my growing up that has given me access to this level of, I can see why a lot of people would envy, like who know me, would envy what I have just because it's just so deep in its investments. And so I definitely feel like my relational connections and even my intellectual space is really rich. And so I am thankful for that. So that's why I was resonating with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I would say for me it is to learn to live with gray. So I grew up with a very black and white idea of how the world works.
Yeah.
It's always this way, it's always this way kind of thing, and there's just no room for the gray in between. And that gray is that uncertainty a lot of times, you know? And so for me, I would probably say it has something to do with, it has a lot for me to do with how to be able to be flexible with those areas that aren't 100% on point, this or this, right? How to live in that gray zone.
Well, that's one thing honestly, the gray zone is interesting, right? Because I was similar too. I was always like, everything's defined. It's black or it's white, it's this or it's that. There's no real middle ground. Yeah. And as you get older, you find that the gray area is surprisingly big. Like, you know what a bell curve is?
Yes.
So if you look at a bell curve, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you have one extreme, and in the middle. And if you look at that, it's like black, white, and the gray is actually quite big.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, you know.
I hear ya. And so I wonder if I couldn't, like maybe that may have facilitated in more of my maturing process as I engage the world, as I interact with different ideas, as I figure out even my own place in this world, you know. I think a huge part of maybe even acceptance of myself in flux, because I think we're all in flux, we're all changing. One of those things that I thought when I was younger was that when I grow up, I'm going to finally be figured out and I'll have arrived at my, you know, final point. But the reality is, even in my older years now, I'm still a process and change, as everyone is, and I didn't have an access to that, right?
Yeah.
Which makes me have to be okay with the fact that it's not 100% for sure. I don't have guarantees.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized too, is that you know, and it's a cliched saying, like it's not the end, it's not the destination, it's the journey. But that's so true, because it's like when you get to places you thought you were going to get to, or you achieve goals and it doesn't quite leave you feeling how you thought it would, and then you realize, well, I learned more getting to this than I did from getting the actual thing.
So true.
You know?
So true. Karen, I'm going to ask you something.
Sure.
I want you to say no or no thanks if it doesn't resonate with you.
Okay.
This is a rich conversation. I'd love to feature this video for my friends, my followers online, because it's just, there's a lot here. But I never do this. My followers know that I never do this unless I have like enthusiastic consent of the one that I'm asking this permission from.
Sure.
Because not everyone is, like many value their privacy in a way that I want to honor too. Would you be comfortable if I were to ask you for permission, or would you be like, this is not my jam?
What kind of site is it on?
I've got a few platforms I have. basically, like, I like focusing. Here's my card. That's my handle on the back there. And basically, my content is primarily focused on how to be able to make social connections rich, especially in our human existence. Things that I've learned since I moved to this country here, things that I've come to value about our opportunities we have on an ongoing daily basis to make it count. You know, so that we're like, hey, there is this component of richness that you can't have access to.
Yeah.
So you're not kind of coasting by in this, like, I would say most in our culture here struggle with the sense of isolation, with the sense of loneliness, with the sense of, I'm not sure anyone sees me even though I'm amongst friends, you know, like there's just the points of social connection that many haven't had a chance to practice to say, this is worthwhile. Yeah. And I think we all crave it. And so I love featuring models of what it looks like for me to connect with strangers along the way, kind of thing.
Yeah, sure, you can use the footage.
I appreciate that. Now you do understand it's a video, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. I just want to make sure that.
You even brought a waiver. I like this.
I do. This is like, I call it a video release one. Just again, so it's all, the pen is on the bottom there.
That's cool. I actually, so I work at the dealership, but I actually have a side business where we do videos and commercials and stuff, so I filled out a ton of these waivers.
That's amazing.
That's hilarious.
Okay. Very cool. I would love to check. Okay, so maybe I'll get, do you have like a platform that you...
Yeah, I'll send you the...
Excellent.
I'll trade you information here when we stop or whatever.
Excellent,
here. The train's going, we got some time. So.
We do.
Yeah. No, so I have a buddy of mine who does, he does photography, videography, all this stuff, and I do like the business end of it, like book the